After weeks of tension over foreign policy, economic messaging, and most of all, the fight over releasing the Epstein files, President Trump has now formally broken up with his once loyal MAGA ally, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. He made the announcement in a lengthy Truth Social post, saying all she does is, quote, complain, 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 withdrawing support for her in 2026. He also claims the fight started after he told her she, quote, didn't have a chance running for senator or governor. That rift exploded online yesterday when President Trump took to Truth Social to road test some new nicknames. First, calling her Marjorie Taylor Brown, explaining, quote, green grass turns brown when it begins to rot. Then opting for Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the President of the United States. Nonetheless, Congresswoman Greene is holding strong, warning her colleagues ahead of Tuesday's vote. She said, you vote no on Tuesday to release the Epstein files and face severe outrage from America. Republicans don't have support from women, and this right here is a perfect example of why. It is, in other words, the beginning of a full-blown MAGA family feud erupting just as the House prepares for that rare vote to make the Epstein records public, and it shows no signs of slowing down.
President Trump and his administration does deserve a lot of credit for lowering inflation and holding it steady. But that doesn't bring prices down. And so gaslighting the people and trying to tell them that prices have come down is not helping. It's actually infuriating people.
Does Marjorie Taylor Greene have a point?
Does she have a point, though?
I know nothing about her.
On the release of the files. All the files.
Well, they can have whatever they want. They already do. I think they have 50,000 pages already. Look, this is a Democrat hoax. This is a hoax put out by the Democrat, and a few Republicans have gone along with it because they're weak and ineffective.
And while Trump may claim this is all part of a Democratic hoax, many of his supporters aren't listening. According to new polling from the Associated Press, just 68% of Republicans say they approve of Trump's handling of the federal government. That is down double digits from March. Joining us now to talk about all of this, NOTUS White House correspondent Jasmine Wright and MS Now congressional reporter Mychael Schnell. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Morning.
We hate a breakup, you know. It's very sad for the family. Very sad for the kids. For the children. I want to start with you because, you know, all of us have been trying to get in Trump's head for a very long time. And there's one thing that we really have learned is that for him, loyalty is a one-way street, right? That at the end of the day, if you do anything that he feels like is stepping out of line, he throws you out to the woods. But we've seen him come back from this, right? Him and Elon are kind of becoming friends or whatever, frenemies again. But this feels deeper, right? This is on policy. And Marjorie Taylor Greene honestly seems to be more of the purist when it comes to the America First argument, right? Like Trump is kind of outside of the bounds of what the America First movement was about.
Yeah, she continues to say that she is still America First and America only, and that is what is really fueling some of the complaints. But this is just not the first time that we've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene over the course of the last 3 months really complain about the Trump administration. The president is right in that. She has really pushed back on him with all of the foreign wars that he says that he is trying to end or draw to a close, push back on him with all the foreign leaders that he has continued to bring into the White House or go across the world to see, basically saying that there's not been enough focus on America First, and thus you see reflected in the prices. And so her name has been something that has come up a lot when I talk to White House officials behind the scenes about they don't know what's happening with her, or they say that after they did have that conversation about the fact that she shouldn't run for Senate because the poll numbers, they said, just weren't there, that that she kind of changed. And so there has been a lot of concern and, some anger at Marjorie Taylor Greene just behind the scenes for the past few months as she has continued to complain about the White House. And now you see it, of course, spilling out in public open and obviously, capped off with those Trump comments.
One of the things that she said recently on NBC on Friday, no one cares about the foreign countries. No one cares about the never-ending amount of foreign leaders coming to the White House every single week, speaking to your point there.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, you have covered Marjorie Taylor Greene very closely for a few years now, and it is no matter what Trump is truth socialing, he cannot deny the closeness of their relationship and the mutual admiration up until this point. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was the person who, the day after January 6th, still claimed, as all of the backlash was piling up on Trump, that this party is his, it doesn't belong to anyone else. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the trajectory of their relationship, but also Marjorie Taylor Greene's singular popularity?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard for me to believe that the polling actually wasn't in favor of Marjorie Taylor Greene when you're looking at a potential Senate race. She is one of the top grassroots fundraisers in the party. She's eschewed corporate donations. Just can you paint us a picture of her rise to this point?
I mean, it's hard to understate how close of an ally and how much of a loyal foot soldier she has been to President Donald Trump. To your point, Jackie, through all the ups, through all the downs, through all the hardships, when he was pushed into potential political ending of his career, she was by his side and helped bring him back to life. And Marjorie Taylor Greene also came to Washington shrouded in controversy, right? She wasn't the biggest fan, people's biggest fan. Within weeks of her coming to Capitol Hill, she was stripped of her committee assignments. Democrats were running the House at that time, but it did get support from Republicans.
Like Jewish space lasers.
Right, she was.
Yeah, she was the reason for that.
And she has come from that in her first weeks in Washington to becoming such a loyal ally of the president. Now, to Jasmine's point, this has been simmering for a few weeks now, as we have seen MTG criticize President Trump on a number of fronts. But I think if you were talking even a year ago that they would have this public and this searing of a breakup, I don't think many people would believe it. One thing that I've been thinking about, and I've interviewed MTG a number of times, it was an interview I did with her back in 2023, and it was about her relationship with Mike Johnson. But listen to what she told me. She said, I am not the Republican team player. I never have been. I think a lot of folks never thought that would transcend President Trump. But here we are now, and it's just a big question of, does the MAGA movement stay with her ideas and where she's going, which, to Jasmine's point, is very much so MAGA and America first, if you look at the definition and downright the name of it, or will they stick with President Trump, who has created this movement, and a lot of people say dictate where it goes?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Maverick.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
crazy.
Well, it does seem like the MAGA movement is feeling a little upset at President Trump. Listen to what he had to say on Tuesday in that interview with Laura Ingraham when the whole issue of H-1B visas came up, and what he had to say. Watch this.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people
no, you
here.
don't. No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn.
We don't have talented people here. And then there's been outrage over that comment from the president. The Washington Post on Thursday, the headline, Trump faces heat from MAGA based on America First agenda and Epstein. Eric Erickson, the conservative radio host, said, saying that we don't have talent in America doesn't sound very America First. Jasmine, I mean, a lot of folks, certainly on the left, a lot of folks in the press have been looking at it. When is that moment when there will be a cleaving between President Trump and the people who are following him? This seems like this is the clearest sign that there might be a separation, but is that, I'll just say it, is that hoping for too much?
Yeah, he's too excited.
I'm not sure that we've arrived there. I might be in the field that we may never arrive there, right? There may not be that clean break, but I think we did something for the NOTUS newsletter, which is that we went back to all of the Republican MAGA influencers that were in that binder meeting in February that a lot of White House officials feel that kind of kicked off how it started going left for the administration when it came to their handling of the Epstein files. And we went back through their social media feeds, and we tried to figure out who amongst those 10 to 15 people were talking about the Epstein files after the House Oversight Committee released some of those emails, and not very many of them were, of those 15 people that were holding those binders out. And if they were actually adopting the White House talking points that it was exonerating Trump and that this was a Democratic ploy to push them past the shutdown. And so I think on the Epstein stuff, you're not actually seeing that type of furor that you saw, at least from the base base of the party, from the folks who have the biggest microphones, that type of furor. But you are seeing that type of furor when you're talking about the H-1B visa issue, because that is something that obviously we know during the transition last year was a big issue. They kind of it was kind of MAGA versus Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy when they were talking about the H-1B visa issue. They had hoped they kind of gotten past it, and of course now Trump brought it back. And so I think you might see little cracks here and there, particularly when it comes to the issue of foreign nationals and who are taking jobs in this country and whether or not you're going against the real economic policy. I don't know if you're going to see that continuing with the base on Epstein voters, particularly because the White House, in a lot of ways, has been effective at putting that pressure down and telling them to look another place or look at other actors in this Epstein file and not Donald Trump.
Mychael, you know, MTG on X posted about being contacted by security. So I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety, as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped get elected. Other than that last sentence, the rest of that sounds like things that Democrats have been saying for years about what happens when Donald Trump writes about you. So when you think about, or reporters who have been attacked by Trump and then have to be...
I'm thinking of David Hogg and what she did to David Hogg when he was still a teenager and she wasn't a member of Congress. But go on.
So I feel like one of the things that's been really interesting, I'm curious what you're hearing from Democrats who are trying to wrestle with this, is like folks have been saying like, welcome to the resistance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or like, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene's all brand new and shiny. And is she? She still has views that I think a lot of Americans find abhorrent: Jewish space lasers, going after David Hogg, different kinds of things that she said. Is this a real change in Marjorie Taylor Greene? What are we seeing?
I mean,
and how are Democrats? And how are Democrats like the kind of thinking about and wrestling with it? Are they welcoming her into their new fold of resistance?
See, the interesting thing is that what she's new on is something she's actually never changed on, and that's the Epstein files. It's the president who's changed on that, right? The president's the one who campaigned on this, said that if I get to the White House, if you put me in the White House, I will release these documents. He has since changed his tune on that when he talked about the discharge petition.
But on health care, on women's rights, like at one point she said, this is why women don't vote for us. And it was like, oh, well, yeah.
I think Democrats are cautiously, obviously, approaching this. This is someone who has been a boogeyman on the left for years. They still use her in campaign ads. They still use her to rally votes and rally supporters. So I think they're entering it very cautiously. But look, they have a Republican firebrand who could be helpful on a number of their policy issues when they're approaching that. For example, when we were talking about those ACA subsidies, they would say even Marjorie Taylor Greene understands this issue. I think they may use it for messaging. Will they actually bring her as an ally when legislating? Look, a vote is a vote, and it's helpful, especially when it's a very narrowly divided House majority right now. But will we see Democrats actually like embracing Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't know if we're there yet, but certainly when it helps them, I mean, yeah.